All right, you guys. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited that we are here. Can you believe it's been 2 weeks since some of us were together? I feel like that 2 weeks has gone by really fast, and in some ways it feels like a really long time ago. So I trust that you guys have had a great last couple of weeks, and we were just talking about, as we were waiting for people to get on, this is kind of that fun week when we're past Christmas and maybe all the to-do lists and all the expectations and all the things that have been on your mind, and now it's just kind of this like silent space, right? Kind of this like spacious week between Christmas and New Year's, where you can just kind of rest and reflect and, maybe spend some time doing things you don't normally do and thinking about what you want the next year to look like. So when you're coming on, make sure you say hi in the comments and tell us where you're coming from and one of the F's that you prioritized over the past couple of weeks. And if you're watching the replay, we are welcoming you here too. I love that we can, with technology, get people in here from all different places, even if you can't be here in person. So we are just going to keep adding people in here. My goodness, we are going to have a big party tonight, which will be really, really fun. So anybody feel like the last 2 weeks went by really quick by show of hands? Or anybody feel like it went really, really slow? Were you thinking about that marble illustration from the last time? If you weren't with us, I've got 2 jars of marbles, which are right there, those green marbles behind me. And they represent the 100 years that I anticipate living. I had one grandma that lived to 102, one to 98. So I figure if I split the difference, I get 100, right? So every year, I do this on my birthday, but you can do this. First of the year is a great time to do it, right? I take one of those marbles from one of the buckets, the not yet lived, and move it over to the lived. And it's just that time to really do 3 things, actually. The first one is to be grateful for that past year, right? And all the things that it held, the good and the hard, right? Because there are so many things that can come out of both of those. And then I look at the years that are yet to come. And that's where I say, have faith, because you don't know what that's going to look like. Only God knows what those years hold and what's going to be a part of them. So we just have to have faith when it comes to that. And that 1 year that we're in, the one that you're holding, is the only one that you can control. So that's where we say we want to live repurposed. We want to be intentional. We want to be about the things that matter most. So that way we can truly, use our time to the best of our ability. You guys won't be able to see this, but I had this necklace made, and on one side it says, be grateful. And this side it says, have faith. And on the front it says, live repurposed. So now I've got this reminder all the time that this is the perspective that we want to have on our time, which really changes things. So, but sometimes things like Skittles happen. Who was with us last week or last time, 2 weeks ago, when we talked about the Skittles and the oranges? Remember those? Some of you may be going, why are you talking about Skittles? I'm going to tell you,
So
my daughter, every
make?
time she comes in my office, she steals a Skittle out of my bucket. So the Skittles and the oranges are right there. You guys can go ahead and mute
Any left?
a little bit later, so that way people are around you and all the background. So anyway, my daughter likes to come and steal my Skittles, and I'm like, hey, that is what, that's what's reminding me that sometimes life can fill up with all that junk. And let's be honest, Skittles are not adding a lot of nutritional value, right? Like, could you live on Skittles? They might fill you up and give you a little bit of a zing of energy and sugar for a short little bit, but they're not going to sustain you and keep you going. That's what the oranges are for, especially this time of year when we want to build up our immunity, right? We want all those vitamins and nutrients. And so the oranges are those really important things, those 7 F's that you see at the top of your paper, those things that matter most in your life. But when we fill our day and our life with Skittles, there's not room for the oranges. Did you find that over the past couple of weeks? Anybody with all the Christmas things going on feel like there were a lot of Skittles that were going in there first? Yeah. So it's going to take intention, you guys. We have to do what we're doing tonight, where we're saying these things matter and I'm going to prioritize these first. Okay. And it's because if we're not committed to the process, and I'm going to talk tonight about a simple 3-step process, then life is going to keep happening. And another year is going to pass, and another year and another year. And they just keep ticking by, faster and faster. So this is actually a process that I'm planning to continue for, my 100 years. Like, I'm never going to stop this. So let's talk through that 3-step process. Okay. So if you've got your worksheet, you're going to see on there step 1. That's where we're going to start. So here's a fill in the blank. Okay. So step 1 is to evaluate where you are. Let me say that again. To evaluate where you are. Now, I just want to make this disclaimer. This is not just something that you should do at the end of the year. Like, I truly believe this is something that we should be doing on a very regular basis. At least probably once a quarter would be really good to do this first step, to just kind of like push pause, because it's very easy. Have you ever been on a road trip before and you thought you knew where you were going and you kept going, and then all of a sudden you stopped and realized you were way off in this wrong direction? If you would have stopped sooner to ask, where am I? You might not have gotten so far off course, right? So that's what we want to make sure, that we're not just, getting off on these little tangents and away from the things that are super important. So step one is something that we want to do pretty often. And when we go back to our illustration from last time of a road trip, this is like when the GPS says it needs that pin, that blue pin first, to know where it's starting from before it can do anything else, right? So last time we were together, whether you joined us or not, and if you didn't, you can always watch the replay. If you haven't received it yet, shoot me a message and I will make sure to get it to you. But we did a year in review. And on the year in review, we did things like looking back at the highs, the lows, the goals that we hit, the goals that we missed, the reason why we missed some of those goals, some of the biggest influences in our life over the past year, what would we do different, and what was a word that described the past year. So if you haven't already done that exercise, there's a worksheet that goes with that as well. Super valuable to look back first, right, before we look ahead as to where we're going. But what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start that process of looking ahead, this 3-step process, okay? So we want to look at, where are you right now? So once you look at those categories of F's up at the top, again, we've got faith, family, friends, field of work. Now, you may not be working full-time. That could be a part-time job. It could be full-time raising kids. It could be full-time grandma. It could be volunteering or serving. It can be a side hustle. It can be a full-time job. It can be, anything that you're putting your 6 to 10 hours in a day. Okay. So I want you to look at those. Which one of those would make the biggest difference for you if you focused on that this year? I want you to circle that one, because we're going to keep coming back to that. Okay. There may be a couple that are at the top. Try to just pick one to start with. You can always go back and do this exercise later with other F's. But what is the one that you think, you know what? I think this one, if I focused on this one this year, this one would make the biggest difference for me. Okay, and so here's where we're gonna get into us getting to work, okay? So we're gonna do a little mini year in review on just that one area. So for example, if you picked finances, I'm gonna play a song. During the song, I just want you free writing. I want you to pretend like you are a news reporter that's looking and just basically you're just telling the facts, right? You're not making judgments, you're not making excuses or stories. Just, what did this area look like in your life in this past year? How did you feel about this area? What obstacles were there? What joys were there? What wins were there? What losses were there? What are some of the things that you would use to describe where you are right now in that area? Okay, before I start playing this song, and I'll just give you probably about 3 minutes to just get down as much as you can. For those of you who just joined us, at the top of your worksheet are the 7 F's. So we're picking one of those that you think would make the biggest difference if you focused on that in this next year. And we're going to free write for the next, 3 minutes and 22 seconds about what that has looked like in your life over the past year. No shame, no stories, no judgment, just notice. What has this area looked like in my life? Any questions about what we're doing before I turn us loose? You can put them in the chat if you've got a question, and I'll try to go over there and check in too while we're doing this. Of course sorry, I got past the ad before we started, but.
Did you ever have that feeling where something just did not feel right?
I moved it.
Ended up on a crossroad, try to figure out which way to go. It's like you're stuck on a treadmill, running in the same place. You got your hazard lights on now, hoping that somebody would slow down. Praying for a miracle, oh show your grace. couple dollars and a car to take a gas. With a long journey ahead, seen a truck pull over. God sent an angel to help you out. He gave you direction, shows you how to read a map. But a long journey ahead, said it ain't never over. Oh, even in the midst of doubt, life is worth living. Life is worth living, so live another day. The meaning of forgiveness. People make mistakes, doesn't mean you have to give in. Life is worth living again. Relationship on a ski slope, avalanche coming down slow. Do we have enough time to salvage this love? Feels like a blizzard in April, cause my heart is just that cold. Skating on thin ice, but it's strong enough to hold us up. Seen us screaming hollow, put us both on blast. Tearing each other down when I thought it was over. Guessing an angel to our beside, yeah. He gave us direction, showed us how to make it last. For that long journey ahead, said it ain't ever over. No, even in the midst of doubt, life is worth living. Life is worth living, so live another day. The meaning of forgiveness. People make mistakes, doesn't mean you have to give in. Life is worth living again. Life is worth living again.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put pens down. Some of you maybe could keep writing for a long time on what things look like, and you can always come back to this and add to it. But it's really important that you remember, we're not judging where you are, we're just stating the facts, right? We're just being honest. What has this area looked like in your life, right? Now, I'm not gonna ask you to share on this one. The next one I will ask you to share, but I want you to think right now before we move on to step 2, how does it feel looking at the things that you just wrote down? You may feel encouraged. You may feel like, wow, I made progress in this area. This was an area of growth for me, even though maybe it's not where I want it to be and I want to keep working on it. So there may be good things in there. Maybe you can find some wins. You know, even in the midst of, you know, the should-haves, the could-haves, you know, those types of things that we often do. Usually there are some good things that happened. So don't forget, if you didn't write any of those good things down, to go back and challenge yourself to say, if I had to say what was the best thing in this area in this past year, what would it be? Because there's always something that you can find. But for most of us, there's probably a lot of not so great things, right? Things that maybe were disappointments, or we didn't follow through on, or we said were important, or we said we were going to prioritize and then we didn't do it. And here we are at the end of another year. And, you know, we tend to, again, kind of beat ourselves up, tell ourselves these red light stories that aren't going to help us to move forward, that just make us feel stuck and like this is how it's always going to be. So we're not going to attach stories to this, okay? This is just that news report. This is just, it is what it is, and we are where we are, right? But here's the beautiful thing. We talked about this last time. You can always choose to live repurposed, right? So right now, you can choose to make, from this moment on, that area look different in your life. So this one's going to be really fun because now we're going to start dreaming, okay? So now step number 2 is to envision where you want to be. I'll put that in the comments or chat right away this time. Step 2 is envision where you want to be. Okay, now, this is like when we go on the GPS, right? We're going on that road trip, whether it's to Target or Disney, we have to tell that GPS where we want to be, right? We have to know where we're starting, but then we want to tell it, where do I want to end up? Okay, now, what I'm going to have you do during this next song is I'm going to have you dream big. And then I'm going to say that's not big enough, dream bigger. Okay, I want you to think big. I want you to think 5 years from now. Okay, so we're about to enter 2022. So I want you to write the date 2027 right under where you see step 2. In that blank spot, okay? So 2027. I want you to write down how old you will be. You don't have to tell us out loud. How old will you be in 5 years? And then I want you to think about the significant people who are in your house or in your life. Maybe your parents. How old will they be in 5 years? Maybe your spouse, significant other. Maybe your kids. Maybe a really, really close friend. But just kind of maybe list a couple of people that are important and a part of your life, and how old will they be in 5 years, approximately. You know, you don't have to go looking it up if you don't remember exactly. My grandma always made me memorize what year she was born. So if I ever asked her, she'd say, well, I was born in 1918. So you do the math. Okay, so I want you to dream now about what would you love this area, this same area, to look like 5 years from now. Okay, so that's what we're gonna be going for. What would you like this area to look like 5 years from now? And I get past the ad again. That's what I get for presetting all this stuff before you get on.
I hope you learn to make it on your own. And if you love yourself, just know you'll never be alone. I hope that you get everything you want and that you chose. I hope that it's the realest thing that you ever know. Hope you get the pretty girls that's pretty at everything. $1,000,000 cribs, having $1,000,000 dreams. And when you get it all, just remember one thing. Remember one thing. And one man could change the world. And one man could change the world. All I wanted was $100,000,000 and a bad chick. Imagine this a month, some nights it felt like that I had it. Back on the mattress, staring at the ceiling, trying to connect the dots, but it's all making those attachments. I'm talking dreaming so hard, some nights it felt like draft day. You know, my stepbrother used to flip them bags outside the crib like it was trash day. No Kim K, but he back, yeah. But when you get it fast, money slow down, don't crash. With all the drive in the world, swear you still need gas. Look, think about it. Close your eyes, dream about it. Tell your team about it. Go make $1,000,000 schemes about it. Success is on the way, I feel it in the distance. Used to look up at the stars and be like, ain't too much that's different. I be shining, they be shining. Get you one shot, don't you miss it. What you know about waking up every day like you on a mission. And I hope you learn to make it on your own. And if you love yourself, just know you'll never be alone. I hope that you get everything you want and that you chose. I hope it's the realest thing that you ever know. Hope you get the pretty girls, pretty in everything. $1,000,000 cribs, have $1,000,000 dreams. And when you get it all, just remember one thing. Remember one thing. One man could change the world. One man could change the world. My grandma told me if you write your name in stone, you'll never get to White House. I grinded out that black hole, then performed up at the White House, standing next to Jim Carrey. We traded stories to laugh. I said, you're not the only one I know got rich wearing masks. Where I'm from, I swear they broke. They need way more than the cash. We need more than what you have, and then we need more than that. But how I'm supposed to say I'm tired if that girl from West Virginia came up in conditions that I couldn't survive? With the war, came back alive. On top of that, became a female black captain. With being black, you had the extra try. Way before James Brown made us proud. She bought a crib on the same street as Marvin Gaye, right there on how to drive. And she taught me how to drive. And she raised the kids, then the kids, and she did it right. Taught me how to love, taught me not to cry. When I die, I hope you teach me how to fly. All my life you've been that angel in the sky, saying I hope you learn to make it on your own. If you love yourself, just know you'll never be alone. Hope that you get everything you want and that you chose. I hope that it's the realest thing that you ever know. Hope you get the pretty girls, it's pretty and everything. $1,000,000 cribs, have $1,000,000 dreams. When you get it all, just remember one thing. Remember one thing. One man can change the world. One man can change the world.
Okay, pens down. Hopefully that was one that was fun and bringing a smile to your face. So let's do a little bit of sharing and inspiring if you're willing to do so and you want to unmute. You can be on camera or off, it doesn't really matter, but just tell us what was the F area that you were reflecting on and what were some things that that dream would look like in that area. You want to go, Melissa? Go ahead. Yeah, just unmute yourself and.
So my F that is field, and I envision myself being a sought after speaker because I am changing the way that medicine is thought of by getting to the root cause and changing so many lives.
I love that. You guys, she's a pharmacist who gets people off pills. So if that's not an oxymoron, but a great mission, I don't know what is. So thank you, Dr. Melissa, for sharing that. Somebody else, what F were you writing about and what does your dream look like? What does it include? Sonia?
Yep. Okay, so my F is finances. Okay, and my dream big includes living in our dream cottage waterfront, debt-free besides the mortgage, and no financial stress and beginning to work on generational wealth. So my dream bigger, like there's a lot more to the dream big, but my dream bigger is having multiple rentals. Our Airbnb is going great and we're able to help all of the kids with their first house and insurance, like life insurances and things like that. So they're settled, so they're not restarting all over again.
I love that. It's so interesting that financial goals often start with getting rid of debt, you know, but then it starts going to what you're talking about, legacy, right? What can we pass on to future generations? What can we do to help take care of them? So love that.
Which was interesting though, because listening to Melissa, it's like, well, my business needs to start at a certain way in order to get there, but not really. Yeah, that's one way, but another way is to sell my current rental, buy the cottage, and this can happen right away if I'm smart.
Yeah.
So,
right. That's why it's good to get this down on paper, because then your brain starts getting to work on how can I make this happen? Love that. Somebody else, what's an F that you were writing about and what's something that was a part of that dream or dream bigger?
I'll go.
Yeah.
I also did field, and basically in my 2027, I'm in a different field. Our cat cafe is open. It's flourishing. That would be my full-time focus. We'd have birthday parties, yoga classes, painting classes, trivia nights. We'd have doggy nights out on the patio, lots of adoptions, lots of volunteers. We'd have fully booked reservations, story hour. We'd have great swag and a vet on board to do all the vetting.
So in case you guys missed the very beginning, she wants to open a cat cafe. So if you have not heard of a cat cafe, you need to Google it or message Nikki or start following her, because she's been visiting them all around the country to decide what she wants hers here in Mount Vernon, Illinois, where we live, what she wants hers to look like and how this is going to help add value to our community, which I think is such a cool thing. So I love that. I love that. You love your dream, Nikki. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Does anybody else want to share? Debbie said in the chat, faith. I love that one. Unwavering, undoubtful faith. Amen, right? Being able to share faith through my business and all that I do. I think that's fantastic, Debbie. Love that we can combine that into so many different areas of our life. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else want to share?
I'll share. This is Phyllis.
Oh, hey, Phyllis.
Actually, mine is like kind of a combination. I think it starts with faith because I have a calling that it's kind of like a let's see, how can I put it in words? God has given me a bunch of different, I guess, visions. And one of them is to help women and their children who are who have been affected by domestic violence and who are homeless. And so he has given me a vision to create a nonprofit for them. And I see myself not really evangelizing, but helping in a way, in a sense, it's kind of like evangelizing, because it's not just going to be a place of refuge. It's also going to be a place that has an area for childcare, for it's almost kind of like a domestic violence YMCA. That's kind of what I visualize, and with it also having like a spiritual aspect of it. And in order to do all of that, then I need the other part, the finances. And my vision is to have some rental, to flip property and to create rentals, so that one of those places could be, part of that vision.
Love that. And it's so interesting. So many things that we want to do incorporate several different areas, which is what I love about this framework, because one thing affects another thing, right? And they all work together. So thank you, Phyllis, for sharing that. What a beautiful, beautiful vision that you have and what you want to build. That's going to make such a big difference.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share? You don't have to, but if you want to, before we move on to step 3. So this is a step that, I recommend doing, maybe like every 6 months, because sometimes our visions change, right? Sometimes our dreams change. Sometimes something new comes into our life and shifts our focus or gives us bigger ideas or, things like that. So, be thinking about, this, again, not just once a year, but on a regular basis, maybe like every 6 months or so, just what is it that I want to, be doing, right? And just keep coming back to that. And we're going to talk about how you can keep these dreams and goals in front of you, which is a real key. Okay, so we're going to head into step 1 was to evaluate where you are. Step 2 was to envision where you want to be. Step 3 is to execute, this is a little bit longer, execute daily steps to get you from here to there. Okay, execute daily steps to get you from here to there. I just put that in the chat so you have that. This is the GPS part where it tells you turn by turn, right? Drive this far on this road, then turn left, then we're gonna go down this road, right? This is like the next to the next to the next. Oftentimes when we leave our driveway, I don't know about you guys, back in the day, we probably map out our whole route and we knew every turn we were gonna take, but now with this really smartphone, for the most part, I get in, I tell it where I wanna go, and then I just follow right one direction to the next. I don't know what every single turn is going to be when I leave my driveway. I probably know the first few turns, right? I know where I'm going, but eventually I get into areas that I've never been before, but that's okay, because this device, because it knows where I'm starting from and it knows where I want to go, it's going to tell me step by step how to get from here to there, right? So that's this last one. We're talking about these daily steps, but I'm going to give you a warning, because this is where most dreams die. People have this great vision. They have these great goals like we just did in step 2, but they stop there. They don't get to step 3 and actually execute these small daily actions. And that's why those dreams die. That's why another year rolls around and you're raising your glass again. And you're like, oh, to this year, like, let's do that this year, right? Or, oh yeah, that's right. What did I say last year? I'm not a big fan of resolutions, because I think resolutions, I don't know, it just kind of sounds like that last minute thing that as I'm raising my glass, I'm kind of just throwing it out there. Well, I guess I'm going to do this year. Don't really have a plan. Maybe don't really have an emotional connection to that. Doesn't mean it's not important or not something I would want to do, but I really haven't probably put a whole lot of thought into it. It's just kind of something I'm saying in the moment. Now, can those resolutions come to fruition and happen? Of course they can, if you do step 3, right? But here's the thing, 92% of goals never get reached. 92%. So I like to ask the question then, not focusing on the 92, but I like to focus on the 8% and say, so what's different about the 8%? I want to be one of those 8% girls, right? Like, I don't want to be in the 92 like most people. they don't have a plan. They're just raising their glass to the new year, and they're just kind of, going with it and then coming around to another new year. And if you look at statistics, less than 3% of people have a written goal. So when you leave here tonight, you will be greater than 97% of the population that does not have a clearly written goal. So you can already give yourself a pat on the back, because you will leave here with at least one after we finish this next segment. Get this next statistic. Less than 1% of people review their goals daily. How many of you are squirrel brain like me? You have all these things that you're doing in your life. You've got, a spouse or significant other, you've got kids, you have grandkids, you have a job, you have a business, you have volunteering you do in your community, you do at your church, think classes you're taking, hobbies you're doing, friends you're trying to keep up with. I mean, let's be honest, we talked about the 3-ring circus last time. Like, there are a lot of things to keep in our head. So guess what happens when our goals aren't in front of us on a regular basis? Squirrel, right? And those goals are off on the sidelines. And then before I know it, I'm coming up to another new year going, oh my goodness, I guess I didn't do that this year. So we really want to make sure that not only do we have a clearly defined goal, we also want to make sure that we are keeping them in front of us on a regular basis. And I'm going to share a really cool tool and resource in a little bit that's going to help you do that. So I can't remember if I told this story last time, but I was in a room a couple of weeks ago, and this question was asked: how many of you have set a goal in this past year, right? Almost all the hands went up. And then they shared the 92% statistic that 92% of goals don't get reached. But in this room, they said, I want to know how many of you have reached that goal that you set in this past year. Do you know that nearly 100% of those hands stayed up? And you know what made that room different? They had a tool, they had a system, and they had support. That's what sets people apart. It's not a secret, you guys. It's having the right things in place and then making it so obvious that you can't miss it every day, right? If people would just do that, they would be reaching their goals. They'd be doing those big things, and not one day, someday, if I had time, like most people are. So last time we were together, we talked about SMART goals. Okay, so I'm going to review what SMART stands for. And it's actually on your worksheet already spelled out for you, so you don't have to fill it in. It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. Measurable usually means there's a number attached in there somewhere. It needs to be accountable. So I've changed that one. You might have heard actionable is a lot of times what you see in SMART, but I think accountable is way more important. It needs to be realistic, and it needs to be time-based. Now, the example that we used last time was the I want to get healthy, right? How many people have you heard say that, or you've said that yourself? I want to get healthy this year. Melissa, you probably hear this all the time. I want to get healthy. I'm like, great. What does that mean? What does healthy look like, right? It's going to be different for every single one of us because we're all starting from a different place, and our vision of what that looks like is probably going to look different, right? So the one that we came up with last time together was, I'm going to drink 64 ounces of water from my jug by 6 p.m. every day and track it on my app. Okay, so now you're talking specific. What are you doing to get healthy? You're drinking water. Measurable, 64 ounces. Out of one of those jugs, I love the ones that have the lines, right? So it's telling you, good job, keep going, you're almost there, like that kind of thing. Like there's accountability built in right there, right? Realistic, can you drink 64 ounces by 6 p.m. every day? Yeah. Time-based, 6 p.m., right? And then I'm tracking it. So that way I can see how many days have I done this. That person is going to see the benefits of drinking water versus the person that even says, I just want to drink more water. Let me give you another example. Somebody who couldn't join us tonight asked me if I would talk about her goal on our call tonight. So she said, I want to spend less time on Facebook. And I was like, okay, great. That's a great goal. But what does that mean? And how will you know if you have done that or not, right? Less time on Facebook, is going to look different for everybody. And what do you mean? Like ever, like at all, or just when because she has a business. So is it just when you're doing business stuff on there and connecting with people? Is this family stuff? Like, what are we talking about? So she and I worked on this, like, how could we make it more specific? And here's what we came up with. I will set a timer to be on Facebook for 10 minutes at 8 a.m. and 10 minutes at 8 p.m. and track my total weekly time, right? So for her, that 20 minutes a day was going to be less than what she'd been spending. She's getting really specific about what time of day is that going to happen. She's setting a timer so she doesn't get lost in scroll hole. We all know what happens there, right? You start scrolling and you just get like an hour goes by and you're like, oh my goodness, where did time go? And she's going to look at how it adds up over the week. I love that, because you may not feel like 20 minutes a day is a lot, but you say 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that's 100 minutes. Now, maybe that's an improvement for you. Maybe it's not. It doesn't really matter. But how do you feel about the fact that you spent 100 minutes on Facebook this week? Right now, do that times 4 weeks. That's 400 minutes in a month. Now you start looking at that going, gosh, was that the best use of my time? I'm not making any judgments. Maybe it was. Maybe that was a great use of your time. Maybe you used to spend 400 minutes a week, and now it's down to 100 a week. So maybe that's an improvement. But do you see how it got smart, specific, measurable, accountable, realistic, and time-based? So whether you brought a goal with you already tonight or not, because that was our homework from last time, was to think about a goal that you want to work on this year. During our next song, we are going to work on, and you might be able to get to a couple of these, but I want you to get these in writing, okay? And be willing to scratch things out. I like to oftentimes use a pencil because I'm going to go back and reword it and things like that. I will let you know after this next song, we're going to open this up. So I want you to share your goal, and together let's test it with a SMART goal. Again, not like any oh, it's not good enough, but just so we can make it better. Because when you use the SMART method, number one, they're authentic to you, which means they're meaningful to you. Number two, they are actionable, something you can actually take action on. Get healthy is not actionable. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to get healthy, how to just do that, but I know how to drink water, right? And they're accountable, which is going to be super key, right? Whether you're being accountable with yourself or whether you're being accountable with somebody else or a group of people. Okay, so we want to make sure that you're walking out of here with at least one strong SMART goal. So if you want to start with that area that you were thinking about earlier, that would be a great place to start. And you might want to come up with 2 or 3 goals for that area. But maybe you want to do one for that area, and then if you have time, maybe you want to hop over to another area and think of a goal for that one. But for the next time, we are going to just work on using that framework to see if we can make them into SMART goals. Any questions about that before I find my next song and let you loose? Okay.
I feel the waves crashing on my feet. It's like I know where I need to be, but I can't figure out just how much air I will need to breathe. When your tide rushes over me, there's only one way to figure out. Will you let me drown? Will you let me drown? Right now, this is my desire. Consume me like a fire. 'Cause I just want something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm married. 'Cause I am down on my knees and waiting for something beautiful. And the water is rising quick. And for years I was scared of it. We can't be sure when it will subside. So I won't leave your side. No, I can't leave your side. Hey, now this is my desire. Consume me like a fire. 'Cause I just want something beautiful Consume me like a fire, 'cause I just want something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm feeling, 'cause I am down on my knees waiting.
Okay, so there's space for 3 goals, and just for the sake of time, I want you to pick one, if you're willing to share that, because you never know, it may inspire somebody else. So jot down some notes if you hear somebody else's goal that resonates with you, and that's something that you think would be beneficial for you or you would like to work on. That's what I love about doing this in community, is we can do so much by ourselves, but then we get around other people, we hear what they're working on and what they're how they're doing it, and that can be really inspiring, right? So who wants to be brave? I think I said this last time. I was a teacher, so I take volunteers first and then I take victims. But who wants to share one of your SMART goals that you've worked on? And we want to hear it, and then we're going to test it with the SMART formula and see if there's anything, because I want you to actually hear yourself saying it, right? Sometimes saying it out loud, it brings up that emotion, right? Or you hear something in there, or maybe it makes you want to tweak something about it. But let's test one. Who wants to be brave and share one with us?
Lisa, I'll go.
Okay, thanks, April.
Okay, so I said, work my business, be consistent about doing so. And I said, I will work my business 3 days a week for at least 15 minutes. I will complete the daily checklist for my business to be organized and record my success. And then I will slowly add more time to commit to the business after 30 days.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. Because yes, April, you hit on something right there. A lot of people will do a goal, and number one, either they don't stick with it long enough, or number two, they expect they're going to get results really quickly, right? None of this is a get rich quick or a get healthy, magic pill or anything that's just going to happen super fast. So I love the fact that you added stick with this for 30 days. So what I'm going to want you to do, April, is I want you to track those 30 days. Okay. Now, some people that you'll hear will say, if you miss a day, start back at 0. What I like to say is the never do it twice, never miss 2 days in a row. Okay. So life happens, we miss a day, right? Like that's what happens. And maybe decide, am I going to do this on Saturday and Sunday, or are those days not counting? Like, you decide what that looks like, but track your days and put it up somewhere where you can see it. Like, make those tally marks. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll grab Post-it notes and I'll put a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. And then every day I do it, I take it down. Right. So my brain can literally see, like, this is what I'm working towards, what I'm counting on. So I love it. And then you put that time in there, and you put very specific, the task you're going to do is your checklist. So 15 minutes a day, complete that checklist and do that for 30 days. Very smart. Anybody else have any feedback on that one before we move on to another one?
I thought that was great.
Yeah, I do too. And maybe if any of you have a business, that's something that you want to commit to, just 15 minutes a day. Think about the cumulative effect of that, April. 15 times 30, what, 450 minutes in 30 days? How different will your business look after you spent 450 minutes on it? I guarantee it's not going to look the same. Right? Love it. Love it, love it. Okay, somebody else.
I'll do mine.
Great, thank you.
Okay, mine is to decrease debt. And so I decided to record all unnecessary spending, create a financial journal, and write daily all of my purchases. And do not make any unnecessary purchases, and have a weekly total at the end.
I love that.
I think I missed some steps somewhere.
Well, you're specific, right? You're writing down what they are. So maybe think about ahead of time, like what you have categories or something like that, or maybe you're just going to tally it totals. Maybe it doesn't matter what the categories are. It's measurable, right? Because you're writing down numbers and you're going to come up with a weekly total. It's accountable because you're holding yourself accountable. Every time I spend something, it's going to get written down. How many of you guys have ever done that with your food? Do you find that when you have to write down what you eat, it makes you think twice? Because you're like, gosh darn it, I got to write this down. I don't really want to write that down, so maybe I don't want it so much, right? It makes you think twice. I think the same thing can be true of the spending. Realistic to write those down, yes, and then time-based for sure, because you're going to do that on a daily basis and then review it on a weekly basis and see where your totals are at. So love that. One of the things we want to be doing is we call increasing the green gap, which means we're decreasing what's going out and we're increasing what's coming in. So that gap keeps getting bigger and bigger between the two. So tracking it is really, really key. Thank you, Phyllis. I think finances is a big one a lot of people are working on, so they might want to steal that.
Well, and actually I was gonna piggyback off Phyllis because that's what mine was about. And I was just gonna share how I made mine different, because I do a lot of online banking and I can just go to last year's. So when it came to that, I said, and I put mine in an affirmation, I'm so happy, thankful, and grateful now that I'm spending 25% less in the month of January 2020 from January 2021.
Wow, that's a
Then
great.
I said repeat that monthly for the year. And then I had, like, I broke it down, and then I'm reinvesting this 25% of savings into debt. And then I am taking that in a year from now and throwing that money into investments if possible.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
And then it might not be 25%. Like, I will reevaluate after the month to see if that's, but I know I'm a spender, so 25% should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love how when you're tracking, then you'll have numbers for the past year, right? So you'll be able to actually see how it compares to where you were before. And
well, it doesn't matter where I make the changes, right? So
Yeah.
I can just look at my bank account last year. This much went out in January. I want 25% of that to go out. So what? It's kind of like we don't need to know the how.
yeah. Yeah.
We just need to know the plan. So it doesn't necessarily. Today I walked into Chapters. The lineup was too long to purchase anything. It didn't matter that the books I wanted were a great price and I needed something to do, but I went in and out of a big town and only spent like McDonald's on my grandson and I.
Yeah.
Right? That may not have fit into my health goal, but the financial goal was a bigger trump than the health goal in that moment.
Yeah. Right. Love that. Thank you, Sonia. Anyone else want to share a smart goal? Melissa?
I will go. I think mine needs a little tweaking.
Okay, that's what we're here for.
I will spend 1 hour a week doing something fun just for me. I will schedule this into my schedule and it'll come from a list of things that I've created.
Okay, I love it. Well, let's test it. Is it specific in that you're doing something fun and you've got a list that it's coming from? I think so. Is it measurable? Did you have a number in there? Your one thing, right? So I think that you can easily measure. Did I do one thing or not? It's a yes or a no. Accountable. Can you share with somebody else whether or not you did it? Yeah. Realistic. Was it realistic to do one fun thing a week? Yeah, right. For those of us who our fun was our lowest category, right? We need to make sure we're planning this stuff in more. Some of you, like, you're like, how can you not have fun all the time? Like, that's my life. But some of us, like, that's like the last thing on our list. So, and then time-based, you said each week I'm going to do that. So I think, I think it fits great. You may find as you're going that, maybe you want to make it more specific or more, tangible or whatever, but I love the idea of having a list to pick from. And then when you run out of things, I need you to connect you. Do you know Ann Bingham, who's part of Lead Up for Women? She's a fun coach. She has something called the One New Thing Project, where she helps women do one new thing a month, is the way that her project is set up. But I'll have to make an introduction to you guys because that's what she does. Help women after 40 have more fun. We all need it, right? Love it. Anybody else want to share?
I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have, my goal is to lose 70 pounds by December of 2022.
All right.
Figure I'll try to lose 2 pounds a week. Do that by having protein shakes every morning for breakfast. No more sweet tea. That's gotta go. Drink water instead of tea, and use my lemon oil in that. And weigh weekly and log.
Love it. And I like what you did. You broke down a big goal into something that you can measure on a smaller basis, right? Because 70 sounds like a big number and it sounds like really far off. So I like how you broke that down into something that was your brain could kind of get around, and going 2 pounds a week, right? That's it. 2 pounds a week sounds very doable, right? That's very actionable. It's very trackable. Now, remember, with 2 pounds, you can have fluctuation of, water and, all things. So you may not always see the 2 pounds every week, but you'll be able to track that over the year and you will be able to see that progress. And I like the specific steps you had. So what you might want to do is specifically like list those, shake for breakfast, water to drink with lemon oil, like list those things. So that you can, literally be accountable to that. Those are the things that you're doing. So good. Well, we'll be excited to hear about that. And here's the other thing too. We haven't really talked about this today, but always have a why attached to your goal, right? So whether it's getting financial freedom, or whether it's having more fun, or whether it's losing 70 pounds, or whether it's working in your business, what's your why? Because there will be days when you just don't feel like it. When that cake is calling, when that sweet tea is calling, Nikki, and you're like, you know what? I don't care. I want you to have that why. Why do you want to release the weight? We don't want to say lose the weight, because you find the things you lose, right? Why do you want to release that? What is that going to do for you? How's that going to benefit the other 7 F's? Because it does. They all make a difference with each other. So we need those things. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Anybody else want to share before we go on to the backside? Go ahead, Renee.
Okay, hi. So I wrote down one of my goals we talked about in the coaching, which was to get in shape or to focus on my fitness, my own fitness. I teach yoga, but I don't always focus on my own fitness. It's more of a maintenance. So I put in here 3 times a week, a 30-minute workout class that I can do at home, 3 times a week, walk 10,000 steps. And then I liked what somebody else said, 30 days. I was like, let me just set that as a goal, a measurable goal for 30 days. And I guess the next step I would need to do would be to put it on my calendar of which days and what times I'll do those steps and classes.
Yes.
And I also added in dancing for fun, but I don't know how that'll fit in. So
that can catch fun and fitness, right? Especially if it's something that gets you active going. So love those, and love how you're very specific about how much time, how many days, or how many steps. And so those are very trackable things. And I think that you're right. It's going to be at least 30 days. They used to say it takes 30 days to create a habit. We know now it's like 66 or something like that. But really, it's just until it becomes something we don't have to really think about, or we can't imagine not doing it. That's when you know something's truly a habit, right? When it just wouldn't feel right, not getting up and doing that workout, not getting up and going for that walk, not getting up and having that protein shake, whatever that thing is, that's when you know it's a habit, right? So keep going until, it just is something that's just second nature. And it's almost like you've crossed this line where it would cost you more and it would be harder not to do it than it would be to do it. You ever had those things in life, right? Where it just, it's like I'd have to try harder not to than to actually do it. So love that. Thank you. Anybody else? And if you're listening to the replay, or if you're on tonight and you've got some goals in front of you and you're just not wanting them to say out loud, totally fine. Send them to me, right? Send me something, like, let's look at it. Let's tweak it. Let's see how it sounds. Try saying it out loud to yourself, see how it sounds, how it feels, test it against the SMART system, because that's going to really make a big difference. So we kind of talked about this. Somebody just alluded to this a minute ago, but I'm going to be a Debbie Downer here for a minute, you guys, because guess what? We're here right now. We've blocked out the rest of life, right? We've been on now for almost an hour thinking about our life, thinking about our goals. But guess what? As soon as we are done, you're going to walk away from this screen and life is going to happen. There are going to be kids waiting for you, a dog or cat waiting for you, a spouse or significant other that has a need, that pile of bills that you need to get back to paying. And you just talked about your dream of being debt-free. That chocolate cake that's sitting in the fridge is going to be sitting there, right? Like all the things, life is going to happen. And we oftentimes have great intentions, right? This is what I want to do. And yet there's oftentimes this gap between what we say we want and what we actually do, right? Anybody else feel that? And I think sometimes the older we get and the more we know, that knowing doing gap gets bigger, and that's not the kind of gap we want to have, like the green gap we talked about. So I want to talk about what can get in the way of goals. And the reason I want to talk about it is so that you will not be surprised when this happens. Because what happens if a car comes out of the blue and hits you from the side, like you're just like, whoa, right? But if you were anticipating the fact that something was about to happen, you could prepare for it, right? So then you could course correct to get around that. So if you turn over on the back side of your worksheet, you're going to see the 7 most typical blockers, we're going to call them. Okay. This is the other place that goals die. Number 1, people don't write them down and they don't use the SMART format. Number 2, they let life get in the way. And here are the top 7. So you'll probably find some common ones in here for you. Fear, huge one. Hello, right? It's one thing to say it here in front of a bunch of ladies. It's another thing to go and do it. Guilt, right? Although should have, could have, I haven't ever done this in the past. Who am I? That kind of thing. That can fall under fear too. Anger, self-sabotage. How often do we talk ourselves right out of it, right? Laziness, just not following through, not feeling like it. Envy, seeing everybody else on Instagram having the life that we want. Lack of or misdirected focus. I know that's a big one for a lot of people, right? Where is that going? So what I want you to do is I want you to circle, when you think about that area that you're focusing on tonight, which of those blockers could you see, and it might be more than one, but maybe pick the top 1 or 2 and just circle them. Okay, which are the ones that you think could probably have the greatest chance of getting in the way for you in this next year? Don't circle all of them. I'm not going to let you do that. Okay, you can't go all 7, right? Just try to pick, maybe 1, 2, 3 if you have to. You really can't, decide, but like just kind of pick the big ones. And then I'm going to give you a strategy, and you'll see it. You'll see it there, and I'll tell you what each one means. It's called ready, set, go. Okay, so ready is we're going to acknowledge that blocker is there. Okay, so ready means you're going to acknowledge that blocker is there. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend like that chocolate cake isn't there. Acknowledge that chocolate cake is sitting on the counter, right? Acknowledge that, you've got some fear about getting up and speaking in front of people. Acknowledge that you have some guilt about a choice that you made yesterday or last week or last month. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna acknowledge it. We're gonna call it out, right? It's like the monster in the room, right? The elephant in the room. We're gonna call it out, right? We're gonna say, I see you. You're gonna acknowledge it. Second step is set. You're going to set it in its place. And you're gonna ask yourself 2 questions to do that. Question number 1, what if I give in to this blocker? What if I give in to fear? What will happen? What if I give in to guilt? What if I give in to envy or lack of focus? What will that outcome be? I want you to play that out when you run into that blocker. Play that out loud in your head, on paper. What if I give in to this blocker? And then I want you to ask yourself the second question. We're still under set. What if I overcome this blocker? Or what if I go around this blocker? What would happen on the other side of this? And guess what? Usually everything you want is right on the other side of that blocker, right? Right on the other side of that fear, right on the other side of that self-sabotage, right on the other side of, that laziness is that dream life that you want. So what would life look like if I got around this blocker? I'm pretty sure you're probably going to want to pick that scenario over the first one, right? So that's where it gets into step number 3, which is go. Here's your 20 seconds of courage. Go, do something. You've acknowledged your blocker. You've thought about what are the outcomes, either direction, and then just move, do something. So if it was that chocolate cake you're staring down the counter, walk over and grab a glass of water. Get out of the kitchen, go for a walk around the block, right? Go do something other than just sit there and look at that blocker or pretend like it's not there. Does that make sense? Ready, set, go. Okay, because they are going to happen For some of us, they'll happen more often than others, but the more we grow ourselves, the less often I think they happen, because we're really working on us. And that's what's so, so key. So I want you to identify, of those blockers that are listed there, right? Again, let's go back and think about which one do you think will pop up the most. I want you to take just a minute and just jot down a couple of things. If and when this blocker comes up for you, what are a couple of things you can do to overcome it? Just jot a couple of notes while it's here and fresh, right? You're not in the situation, so I don't know all the circumstances around it, but if this comes up, what will you do to overcome it? Just get a couple things down, because when it does come up, you're going to be like, wait, I've got that list. Let me grab my paper. Or hopefully it's going to be in your brain, because you're going to be, I've already thought about this and I already know what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this stop me, because I know this is part of the path, right? This is part of me moving from where I am. If you just stay sitting on the couch, you're never going to run into any construction traffic, right? You're never going to run into any potholes, but guess what? Your life is never going to be beyond your couch. So just like if you want to go on that trip to Disney or to Target, right? You got to get off the couch. You got to go, right? You might run into, a closed road, a detour, something, fell off the back of a truck, right? Like life happens. So be prepared for it so that you can go around it. So really, when you look at it, it's not Debbie Downer. It's just you being ready to face it, right? Which actually should be a very empowering thing. But the really cool thing is this next section. These are accelerators. These are the things, this is the good news. These are the things that can help you get there faster than you even expect, right? You thought it was going to take a whole year or more, or maybe all 5 years to get there. What if you could get there faster? The 7 things you see listed here are things that can help you get there faster. Gratitude, love, discipline, not as in you're in trouble, but like discipline in doing the work, integrity, showing up for yourself, doing the things you say you're going to do, passion, humility, maybe sometimes asking for help from people, wisdom. So I want you to identify right now, try to pick one, maybe 2, which one of those do you think would help you the most in that area that we've been talking about tonight? I want you to circle it. And I want you to write it in, or you can circle it and then write, I want you to write it also, because I want your brain to see it twice. This is the year of fill in the blank. This is the year of passion. This is the year of gratitude. This is the year of humility, wisdom. And I want you to start thinking about and jot down a couple ideas while this is fresh in our mind. What are some ways that you can get more of this in your life in this next week, in this next 30 days, in this next quarter, in this next 6 months, in this next year? Jot down maybe 1, 2, 3 ideas real quick while we're here. How could you make this accelerator more a part of your life to help you get closer to your goals more quickly? And again, hopefully that's empowering for you and that excites you. And I want you to be looking for ways, maybe put that word somewhere, put it on your screensaver, put it on your computer, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on your refrigerator, put discipline on your refrigerator. Nikki, you're looking at the 70 pounds, put discipline on your refrigerator, right? Put discipline on your pantry door. Sonia, when you think about where am I spending my money, put discipline on your computer, right? Put discipline wherever, maybe it's on your dashboard, right? So that as you're driving around, you're thinking about how can I incorporate more of this and how can this help me reach this goal? Because it can really help you get it way faster than you'd even think that you could. Okay, I'm super excited about what we're going to be doing here next, because we're going to take things, we're going to just keep going deeper and deeper. So I hope you guys are good with me. And I know some people have had to pop off. You're all going to get a copy of the replay. So if for some reason you had to stop early or whatever because people needed you, totally fine. I wasn't sure how long this would go. It was based on how many people showed up and how many people were sharing. And I love the fact that we've been sharing. So I'm here for it, right? Like I'll go as long as we want to. So we are going to identify your big one. Now, I want to talk about what I mean by this. There's a difference between a goal, we just worked on our SMART goals, and your dream, right? Your dream is the big picture. Your dream might be like the top of the mountain, right? So say you want to climb Mount Everest, Your dream is that tippy top summit that you want to get to, where you're going to put your arms up and you're going to take that picture. My son and I were hiking a couple weeks ago, and I said, you have to take the Instagram picture at the top of the mountain because you're the only one with me. The other two didn't make it up. So at the top, we took this picture. I had my arms out, and you could see the mountains on the other side because we don't live by mountains. So we got to make a big deal when we get to them. So that is your dream, right? The goals we were working on, those are like those little base camps, right? Just like Nikki was talking about, 70 pounds, that's the top, that may be a big dream that she has. Or maybe that's one of her base camps. Maybe that's just working towards something even bigger. Maybe that's just one step along the journey. It's one milestone. It's one base camp on your way up there. So I want to ask you a question. When it comes to your big one, I'm thinking more dreams than I am specifically small goals. What is your one big dream? And let me just kind of define what I mean by this. What is one thing that if you committed to it, it could spark a total change in your life and what things look like a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, a decade from now? That could affect the course of your life, or that could make 2022 different for you. Now, here's what's interesting. Sometimes that dream may be in that category that you've already identified. That dream may already be something you've written down tonight. But a lot of times, that big dream, that one thing that you knew if you did this, it would change everything, may not be something that's written down yet. Because oftentimes, those are the scary ones. Those are the ones that we know in the back of our head, and we're afraid to write it down because if we do, it means we have to do something with it. So that event that I was telling you about earlier, we were talking about the goals. At the end, we did this. We said, what is my one big dream? What is that big thing that I'm going towards that's going to make, that's really going to catapult my life? And the one that was probably repeated the most often, that touched the most people, this guy got up there, very unassuming guy, baseball hat, just jeans and a t-shirt. And he said, I'm going to stop yelling at my kids. Like he knew that was that thing that he needed to do that was going to change everything. And I guarantee that was not written down before. And one of his SMART goals was like, I hadn't written this down yet because it was one of those things that I didn't want to face and think about the impact that this thing was having on everyone around me. But he said, when I thought about it, I knew this was my one thing. This was what was going to make the biggest change in my life. So it may be related to something you've already written down tonight, but it may not be. Okay, so I'm going to put a song on. And this is kind of I love this part because this is something that's, maybe even bigger than you think I could even imagine. And that's okay. That's what big dreams are all about. Because when you have, like we talked last time, when you have something you're going towards, that's what's going to keep you going, right? So I'm going to go ahead and play this song. And I want you to think about, maybe write down a couple of things, right? It may not be the first thing you write down, but I want you to be thinking about, what is my one dream that I'm willing to commit to this year that I think can make the biggest difference in my life moving forward?
Out of the water, raise my hands up to the Father. Gave it all to him that day. Felt anew and kissed my face. Walked away, eyes wide open, could finally see where I was going. It didn't matter where I've been, I'm not the same man I was then. I got off track, I made mistakes, backslid my way into that place. Souls get lost, minds get crossed, and the pain won't go away. I hit my knees, now here I stand. There I was, now here I am. Here I am. Change. Got it out. Okay, I'm sorry. wish that I could take it all back. I just wanna tell him that's in my way to that place. So that's cross and the pain won't go away. I hit my knees, now here I stand. There I was, now here I am. Here I am. I've changed for the better, for signs that's better. I'm even starting to forgive myself. There I was, now here I am. Here I
That's a really powerful video. If you've looked that up on YouTube, it's called Changed by Rascal Flatts. And there are all these words that were describing who he was. And throughout the story, as it's showing the changes that happen in him, those words start coming off, right? And he's a changed person, and that's affecting his relationships, and it's affecting what he's doing in life. And that's what this process is all about, you guys. It's about us, you know, working on us so that we can truly have that change. So I'm super excited about this. This is one of these like woke me up out of a dead sleep ideas that came to me last week. And you may notice behind me, there's this like whiteboard with like one random little thing in the middle. I know, probably not the best wall decoration if you're going to be doing Zooms, right? Like what in the world is that? Actually, that's a poster that I turned around backwards because I wanted to repurpose that thing on the wall. So how many of you have ever created a dream board, a vision board, right? Where that you cut out pictures from magazines, maybe print stuff off, you put words on there, like what do I want my life to look like, you know, in this year. It's a great thing to do, especially if you're celebrating a birthday or you're heading into a new year, because it's getting those pictures in your head of what you're looking to create, right? And then your brain gets to work when it's got those images on there. And so I thought, you know, I could create my own dream board and put all these great pictures and all these great words up there of all the things that I want to do. But this is the idea that hit me when I woke up at like, I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, but my dream is to help women achieve their dreams. So this isn't going to be my dream board. This is going to be a dreams board where I'm going to collect the dreams of women and what they want to do. So you guys are going to be the first. I haven't let anybody else put anything on here because I was saving this for you guys. So for the last week, everybody's been looking at that one and probably wondering what is on there. And I'll tell you what mine is. I put mine right in the middle, and very quickly, I want that thing to be filled. And then I want there to be layers going over them, because as we put more and more on there, number one, if it's one of those things you're like, enough of this, I'm ready to be past this place in my life. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to do this big thing I've been saying. Every time a sticker gets put on there, it's going to like it's just going to like seal that in, right? And all those dreams that are underneath it are going to get, they're not going to get covered up like nobody sees them. They're there. They're going to get sealed in, like, yep, high-fiving that lady whoever was before me, right? Who I put that sticker over. So I cannot wait for this to not only get filled in that first layer, but to fill layer after layer after layer. And this is just going to be something I'm going to keep collecting. So you guys are going to be the first to get to add your dreams to my dreams board. So mine is in the middle, and it is to inspire after 40 women to live out their God-given purpose. And I truly believe, I mean, some of the things that I think that's going to involve scare me because they're way bigger than what I think I can do on my own and what I think I'm capable of. But I know that this is that vision and that mission and that purpose that God has given me, is to help women do this and to inspire them to dream big dreams and to live these things out and to truly create a life of balance and growth and impact so that you're doing the things that God's called you to do. So mine is up there. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity right now. Now you're not here with me in person, but here's what I have. This is so cool. And I got my resupply today because I was like, oh no, what if I run out tonight? So I've got stickers that have the 7 different areas on here. Okay. So if your big one is a faith goal, I'm going to write this on here for you. And then it's going to go on that board, right? If you have a field goal, if you have a family, I've got 70 of these. So I will make sure that I find the one that fits your category. If you're willing to share it with everybody right now, amazing. I'll start writing them down. And then, if we have time, I'll put it up there. If you want to send it to me later because you don't want to say it in front of everyone, or you're still, just kind of trying to work through what is that, that's okay too. If you're listening to the replay, this is for you too, right? Like send me what is your big one. What is that one thing that if you go after, it could change everything. So I'd love to hear. I'm just going to open it up. No victims this time, I promise. If anybody wants to share, what is your big one? What would make the biggest difference? What could spark something really big in 2022, in 2027, like we were envisioning, or beyond? Anybody want to share?
I will.
Okay, Nikki.
My big one is to be able to show my sons and grandkids a better way to earn a living and be time free.
Love that. So we want to put that under family or under field?
Family, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so let it be done. Here it is. You can come visit my house because you're close by. So I'm going to slap that up there for you. Anybody else want to share yours with the group? Thank you, Nikki. Yep, and if you need to go, totally fine.
So mine, and this has been mine for a little while, so I don't know if maybe it's because I haven't pushed far enough, to impact the lives of 25,000 women this next year in helping them change their health. And I know that's not quite smart, but as they work with me, then it becomes like we create SMART goals. But to have that impact that they can change.
Okay, so to impact 25,000 women to change their health. That's amazing. I'm gonna put that on field. Start tracking that one.
Yes.
Okay, there it is, going up there. Anybody else want to share yours?
I can go.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So fun to get to meet you too. Thanks for popping on tonight.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. My big one is to be able to grow the business that I have now so that I can quit my current job and be full-time with that, to be able to spend time, be home with my kids
Love
and
that.
keep them in private school.
Oh, I love that. So do you want that to go under finance or do you want that to go under field?
Probably field, I think.
Okay. Field one in here. Thought I got my other pile. Should have two. Everyone here, but I might have used that one already. Oh, I probably used it for mine. Okay, I got my refills today. I love that. And you're connecting it to your kids. So on those days, here's the thing, Ashley, very often when we make our family our reason for doing things, it often becomes the reason we don't do something. So be watching those days when you're like, oh, but I have to go spend time. Not that you don't spend time with your kids now. I'm not saying neglect them, but remember on those days you don't feel like working your business. By you working your business and growing it to that point, you will get to have more of that yes, mom time, right, than you currently have. So, okay, so now I got to get it back in my head. To grow my business so that I can choose to be home full time and keep them in private school. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Love it. Especially when it's about something bigger than us, right? That always helps us to keep moving towards it. Okay, anybody else want to share? I'm going to keep them on my board here, but I want you guys to write this again somewhere that you're going to be seeing this. Okay, this is one of those goals that you want to be in front of you every single day. Okay, you want to see this. You're going to want to see this big goal, right? And then I want you to see some of those action steps. Maybe some of those SMART goals you set are things that are going to help you work towards that. Maybe you, after tonight, you want to set some more SMART goals around things that are going to help you move towards that big one, right? But always keeping that in front of us, because like we talked about last time, when you're riding a bicycle, if you're moving towards something, you stay balanced, right? Because you've got someplace you're going. What happens as soon as you stop? The bike falls over. It's very hard to keep your balance, right? When you don't have something that you're working towards. So as we end, I have 4 questions for you and then a bonus strategy. So here we come to the 4 questions, okay? And these are questions you can ask at the end of a year, at the beginning of a year, at your birthday, technically any time of year. Question number 1, are you living a life that's growing? Put it in the I form, put it in first person. Am I living a life that's growing? Am I living a life that's growing? Question 2, am I balanced in all 7 key areas? Not perfect. There are going to be times when you don't feel imbalance. Am I giving attention, right? So different seasons are going to require different amounts of attention in different areas. When you're a mom and you've got little ones, you know, a lot of focus goes in that family. And then life looks different when your nest empties. Number 3, am I serving well? And I love that because we can always keep serving, right? That's something that we've never arrived. I like to be around people that have never arrived, right? Never done growing, right? Number 4, can I do more? So let me just read them one more time. Make sure you got them. Number 1, am I living a life that's growing? Number 2, am I balanced in all 7 key areas? Number 3, am I serving well? And number 4, can I do more? Those are great questions to always be asking yourself, right? Just to self-evaluate. Where am I at? It doesn't have to be, you know, an official capacity like this. It can just be on your own now that you've got those questions. But here's my bonus strategy. Surround yourself with people who want you to win, who want to see you reach these big goals, who want to see you have the little successes, right? Who are committed to growing themselves. And so because you're here, you're already investing in you, right? We're a little over an hour, we're almost an hour and a half right now. Like most people will not give that time to working on themselves. They come up with every other excuse why they can't be there. Or if you're listening to the replay, I give you even more credit because I think that's way harder to listen to a replay when you're not on live, because it's very easy to let life happen So congratulations to you if you are still listening or you're popped back in because you had to leave earlier and you're up to this point. That says a lot about you. So get around other people who are committed like that too. Because guess what? Most people don't understand what that's like, right? Remember the 92% or the 92%? They're not doing this, right? They don't have the same tools. They don't have the same support. They don't have the same goals. They don't have strategy. They're just living life unconsciously and wondering why they, feel like they're in the same place, going in circles, stuck, going backwards. It's not your responsibility to decide for them. It's your responsibility to decide for you, right? What am I going to do? How am I going to grow? Where am I going to go in that direction, right? So I'm gonna give you 2 action steps that you can take right away. Okay, you guys are getting a special invite here tonight. Number 1 is start using a tool that's really going to help you. Now, I'm not going to take the time to preview it right now. So if you want more information, I can get you some more information. But the tool that I'm using is from a company called Oola, O-O-L-A, and it has helped me to walk through this process of identifying where I am, envisioning where I want to be, and then executing daily action steps. And guess what? There's this big old button. I showed you on my phone last time. I was going to show you on the computer tonight, but if you want to stay afterwards, and I'm happy to show anybody who wants to see it, bigger screen. I'm tracking my actions every day, and it adds up how many actions have I taken all together. And it keeps track of my streaks so I can see, wow, it's like how many days in a row have I done that, April? Like your 30 days that you're tracking. It's showing me, and I don't want to break that streak, right? So I'm going to keep tracking those actions. I'm going to keep doing the do. Not only so I can get that streak, but so that I can see the results, right? So I love that. And if you decide that you want to use that tool, there are several of you on here who already are, then I am creating something called an inner circle, and it's only going to be for other women who are also using the tool. Sorry to anybody else who's doing something else. We're going to support each other because I truly believe that this can make the biggest difference. This has helped me to get on track, and I help people do this. So when you think about how can I really get laser focused on what matters most, and start doing these things more in my life instead of just saying it, like this tool has been a game changer for me. So I'm going to create this inner circle. We're going to do once a month Zoom accountability calls. How's it going? What are you working on? What are your challenges? What are your wins? What are you committing to? What are your obstacles? What are your accelerators, right? Like we're going to talk through that on a monthly basis. We're going to have other resources that'll help you to be staying on track with your goals in 2022. So, and I also, for anybody that decides to join us, so all you do is I'll give you the link. It's lissafiggins.com/inner circle. And that'll take you right to the enroll place where you can sign up for Oola. It's $77 when you first sign up because it takes you through all the Design My Life blueprint. And then it's $47 a month. You guys, I did the math. It's like $1.50 a day. Who's tracking there? I think Phyllis had to leave, right? But think about how easy it is to spend $1.50 a day. You wouldn't even think twice, but what return on investment? Like, what are you getting for that? Are you getting something that can change your life? Probably not. It probably was a drink at a drive-through, right? And you're lucky if you come out of there for $1.50. That was probably a really cheap drink at a drive-through. So Melissa's going to have to help fix your health because you weren't making healthy choices if you bought your drink for $1.50. So really, that's what it is, right? And so investing in you is always worth it. And so anybody who decides that you want to join us by the end of December, so about before Friday, before the ball drops on Friday night, I'm doing a Design Your Dream Life workshop in January, and you will get a free ticket to that. Everybody else is going to pay, but you'll get a free ticket to that as well as a planner that will help you really work through these 7 areas and really think about what you want them to look like in 2022. Okay, so that's the inner circle. And that's a little bit more of a self-paced, you've got some support and things like that from me to help you do the things that you want to do. You got my favorite tool that's right in your hand or on your laptop every day that can help you. But some of you may be like, yeah, that's great, but I know me. If I don't have somebody who is really holding me accountable, I'm going to be off in the ditch. Anybody like that? That was me. If I didn't know that I had to be accountable to somebody every single week, it's very easy for me to get distracted and to be off, doing whatever else. So if you want a little bit more like, hey, Lissa, like, can we do this together? Like, can you help me figure, this out? Some of you we're doing this already. Like we have a once a week Zoom call where it's just you and me, and we talk about these things and we talk about where you are and where you want to go and action steps to get you there. And why does that matter to you? And what impact is this going to make? Like that can be life-changing, right? What if just by having some intentionality, you could pay off that debt load that's causing you a ton of stress? You can get rid of that weight that's causing those health issues. You can maximize the time with your family that you can't get back. Like those things are worth it. So I've got a group option. I've got one-on-one options. You can go to lissafiggins.com/coaching. and see what the different options are there. And I'm happy to have a conversation with you about really what's the best fit for you and what's going to help you to really, move towards the goals and things that you want to do. So, and I'm offering 20% off through Friday as well. So that's just another bonus on there. So here's my challenge as we end up. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Stop stopping. In fact, stop starting and stopping, right? How often have you started and stopped the same thing and another new year and you're like, oh, yep, here I am again. Okay, let's do it this year, right? Like, let's just stop that cycle and let's just make this a lifelong learning process that we are intentional every single day and working towards these little goals and that big one, right? And see the difference that can make in your life and really make 2022 different than all the other years, right? And different than everybody else around us who's going to do the same thing, right? And be in the same place. So my question to you as you leave is, are you committed to your goal? Whether you gave me your goal to write down already or not, are you committed to your goal, right? It's worth it, right? You're worth that investment. If you didn't give me your goal yet and you wanted to go on the dreams board, I want this full, please message me or call me or whatever, and we will get that on there and it'll just be between you and me. Nobody else has to see it, but I want that goal to be up there because once you put it in writing, that does a lot, right? And then that's slapped up there and it's around all these other big goals, like that's meaningful, right? And you can come visit my board anytime you want if you want to see what it's looking like. So I will hang out if anybody has any questions or things that you want to talk about while we're already here. But I just want to thank those of you who joined us tonight. Thank those of you guys who watched the replay. Share this with a friend, right? Like this is open source. This is not anything secret we're keeping to ourselves. If you are thinking of people right now, family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, somebody that you're like, gosh, this might help them. This might change their life too. Send this their way, right? That's what this is all about, is helping more people to really see change in their lives. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If I can figure out the right button to push. There we go.